tratar un poco de hablarles a ustedes que están presentes y a los que nos acompañan del otro lado. Mi nombre es Diego Moy, yo soy miembro del directorio de CFA Society. Bueno, les doy la bienvenida a este evento que hacemos todos los años, que llamamos Reseach, una competencia que ahora van a ver cómo la dinámica cómo funciona, donde hay equipos que hacen presentaciones de compañías al nivel del estilo de calibre de Wall Street, mientras van a ser evaluados y, bueno, y posteriormente, digamos, vamos a ver quién resulta ganador. Les comento un poquito lo que es el CFA para los que nunca lo vieron o lo conocen. Es una certificación internacional, que es una certificación que requiere un examen, que es un examen compuesto a lo largo de 3 años, con lo cual, digamos, que cubre un montón de aspectos de finanzas. Y la certificación no solo incluye aspectos técnicos y de formación, sino también tiene un fuerte núcleo y centro en todo lo que tiene que ver con ética profesional, con mejores prácticas, de forma tal de incentivar y trabajar con el mercado de capitales. Bueno, conjuntamente conmigo, digamos, también miembros del directorio de la Society, se encuentra nuestro presidente, Sergio González, está también Agustín Frágola, recientemente salido presidente, y la tenemos a Lucía Cabrera, nuestra staff, que es la que por suerte garantizó de que todo este evento estuviese puesto en su lugar. Bueno, sin más, entonces una de estas acciones, como les decía, que hacemos para que el mercado de capitales se desarrolle cada vez más, es esta iniciativa Researchar. Es una iniciativa global, ahora vamos a contar un poquito más de detalle, con lo cual, bueno, la idea es acercar, por eso también estamos transmitiendo en vivo, a gente que conoce y que no conoce el mercado de capitales, de manera tal, digamos, de que se acerquen, de que participen. Digamos, los mercados de capitales son ambientes en donde cuanto más participantes haya, digamos, las externalidades son mucho más positivas, y la idea también es desmistificar esa cuestión que tiene que ver con aspectos puramente especulativos, para también entender que hay flujos de largo plazo de capitales, de dinero que hay que intercambiar en la economía, y bueno, el mercado de capitales es justo uno de los lugares fundamentales para que eso ocurra. Bueno, sin más, arrancamos por los agradecimientos. Nos encontramos en este auditorio, en el Banco de Valores. Agradecemos mucho a la gente del Banco de Valores, que todos los años, hace ya varios años, viene poniendo este auditorio realmente tan práctico y que nos ha venido dando tan buenos resultados. Agradecemos también al Grupo Cohen y al Grupo Criteria, que han ayudado en distintos elementos, con lo cual un gran agradecimiento hacia ellos, porque, como digo, es parte de esto, y que todos colaboremos, es que las cosas avanzan de buena forma. Por otro lado, esta es la instancia final, es una instancia donde los chicos van a estar evaluados por 4 jueces, pero para llegar a esta previa instancia, los 4 equipos finalistas han tenido que pasar por un proceso de selección. Este proceso de selección se hace a cargo de todos nosotros, somos voluntarios, digamos, estos son eventos en donde nosotros ponemos nuestro tiempo libre para poder hacerlo realidad. Lo tenemos a Matteo Reschini, a Stephen Novak, Darío Leiderman, Franco Mercatini, Santiago Huesena, Guido Pastori, Francisco Schumacher, Martín Sigwald y Álvaro Rosenbluth. Bueno, muchísimas gracias extendidas. Hemos tenido una semanita y media para que ellos hayan dado un feedback sobre una cantidad de trabajo bastante considerable, con lo cual ha sido realmente un orgullo que nos hayan destinado su tiempo para eso. Y por supuesto también el agradecimiento más grande en este año. Estamos trabajando sobre la compañía que es Vista. La tenemos por donde anda, Florencia Collin ahí de Investor Relations, que después probablemente nos dé unas palabritas también sobre el final. Bueno, todos los años elegimos una compañía. Este año, un poco acompañando el impulso del complejo energético que debería ser uno de los grandes drivers de crecimiento de Argentina, bueno, una de las compañías emblemáticas ha sido Vista, y nuevamente, de vuelta, la compañía lo ha hecho totalmente sacrificando horas y tiempo que podrían haber dedicado a otra cosa, con lo cual, de vuelta, un agradecimiento muy, muy fuerte hacia ellos. En términos de cómo vamos a manejarnos en esta sesión, lo que tenemos es un poquito más de tiempo que les voy a robar ahora explicándoles cómo son el reglamento. Los 4 equipos que están en orden: Alpha Seekers, el equipo del SEMA, Fusion Consulting y iFuturo. Esos 4 equipos en ese orden van a tener luego 20 minutos cada uno para exponer. Y al final, por supuesto, bueno, deliberaremos quién es el ganador dentro del equipo de los jueces, para poder anunciar al que va a pasar la siguiente ronda. Nuestros jueces hoy lo tenemos a Claudio Maulhard, Portfolio Manager de Galileo, digamos, todo esto otra vez, y esto sí lo he hecho a todos los chicos a lo largo de las sesiones, hemos tratado de generar y traer un grupo de jueces, digamos, todos líderes de la industria en todo lo que tiene que ver con Research y Asset Management, con lo cual, nada, digamos, son los que ven y los responsables de las grandes compañías y los grandes fondos que se ven en el mercado argentino. Lo tenemos a Gustavo Araujo, que es el jefe de Research y Estrategia de Criteria, Juan Ignacio Roldán, CFA, me faltó poner ahí, el Head Institutional Sales de Banco Galicia, y Fabricio Gatti, el Chief Investment Officer de Novus Asset Management. Con lo cual, bueno, gente que ha invertido durante mucho tiempo y ha visto desde los inicios de que era un SPAC prácticamente esto, hasta hoy. Con lo cual, nada, espero que también le saquen jugo a ustedes. De vuelta, creo que para los chicos va a ser muy interesante las preguntas que les hagan, pues los va a preparar para las rondas siguientes. Pues bueno, son fuertes especialistas en el segmento. Repaso rápido de las reglas, todo esto lo conocen, pero por ahí los jueces lo vamos a introducir un poquito más y los que están del otro lado es novedoso. 4 equipos, recomendación de inversiones sobre la compañía es lo que se tiene que trabajar. Van a ver un poco, digamos, cómo se conforma una recomendación de inversión, los pasos que hay que seguir. Creo que eso va a ser interesante para que todos lo vean, digamos, de la manera de que un analista profesional trabaja o un portfolio manager cuando tiene que acceder a este tipo de información para tomar decisión. Ahora vamos a ver cómo se presenta de esa manera acorde. Son 10 minutos del límite de tiempo de presentación, más 10 minutos de Q&A o de preguntas. Todo de las presentaciones van a ser en inglés, con lo cual, bueno, vamos a ver un poco para dónde va. Los ganadores es una combinación entre las notas previas que arrastran de los graders, más lo que los jueces dictaminen en términos de promedio. Bueno, silencio, por favor, igual van a permanecer en esta habitación los chicos que estén exponiendo y el mentor de la facultad. El resto, por favor, nos vemos del otro lado de la puerta. Cuestiones de cómo se va a calificar. Esto es un scorecard que cubre esos 7 aspectos con distintas ponderaciones, aspectos que van desde la capacidad o, digamos, el nivel de precisión con la cual se ha procesado la información que entra en esta evaluación, que proviene de los estados contables, las metodologías que han utilizado seleccionado para evaluar una compañía como vista. Hace un ratito estábamos discutiendo con los jueces lo variantes que son las compañías en el mercado y lo distintas que son las metodologías que hay que utilizar, con lo cual, bueno, este es un punto fuerte que vamos a trabajar sobre vista. Tenemos discusión de todo lo que tiene que ver con la responsabilidad de medio ambiente, gobierno corporativo y cualquier tipo de externalidad social que la compañía tenga en el medio ambiente en que se desarrolla, cosas que son centrales para entender, digamos, contingencias potenciales o aspectos que son intangibles, que, digamos, de acá en el mundo hacia adelante cada vez eso suma más. Después vamos a cuestiones que ya tienen que ver con la presentación, la dinámica. Recuerden, todos van a tener que intervenir, por lo menos un ratito. La dinámica de cómo se maneja eso y cómo se llevan los temas es importante. Sesión de Q&A, capacidad de responder a las preguntas que les hagan los jurados. Acá es una cuestión que, nuevamente, no es una cuestión de preguntar sobre lo que está flojo, sino deberían estar en condiciones de responder preguntas como si fuese alguien que tiene que dar una opinión de inversiones sobre esto. Bueno, y como les mencionaba, les vuelvo a agregar un puntito más de lo que tiene que ver con involucramiento del equipo en su conjunto y lo que tiene que ver con la presentación y los slides. ¿Okay? Ese es un poco el scorecard. Digo esto para los que están del otro lado para entenderse que va a haber una calificación objetiva en base a estos criterios. Los ponderadores provienen de un estándar internacional de la competencia, no los ponemos nosotros, y tiene que ver de vuelta con los distintos focos que uno tiene que agregar. Ya para ir cerrando, esta competencia es el inicio de toda una secuencia de rondas sucesivas. Digamos, a lo largo del mundo el CFA está organizado en regiones, subregiones, es un tanto, digamos, me gustó cuando lo leí esto porque tiene que ver con una tipificación de las Naciones Unidas. O sea, está bastante rotulado el hecho de cómo son qué país pertenece a cada región, pero con esto les muestro que hay un montón de camino por recorrer para adelante. Con lo cual la final va a ser en China, así que realmente creo que es algo bastante piola para avanzar. Terminado esto, vamos a tener el verano en Argentina, hacia marzo, arrancan las rondas, pues nosotros medio que arrancamos antes, siempre me lo han dicho los chicos, Arrancamos un poquito antes, somos casi como cuando está terminando, estamos arrancando nosotros, así que vamos a estar un poco adelantados, con lo cual en marzo van a tener las rondas siguientes que tienen que ver con la subregión y como bien dice ahí, semifinales, finales y la final hacia mediados de año deberíamos estar concluyendo por ese lado. ¿Okay? Bueno, con esto yo terminé, así que les deseo muchísima suerte a todos. Y bueno, los chicos de Alpha Seeker, por favor, vénganse que vayan preparándose, no sé la presentación cómo está, el resto para atrás. ¿Ok? Bueno. Adelante, sí. Ahí tienen micrófonos. Vamos esperando un poquitito el tema de la presentación. Acá tienen el puntero para poder pasar. Ahí estamos. Perfecto. Bueno. Mucha suerte, chicos.
Hi, I'm Santiago, and together with my colleagues Lautaro, Francisco, Bautista, and Francisco, we are Alpha Seekers. We are excited to present our strong buy recommendation on Vista Energy, with a target price of $73 per share, representing an upside potential of 42%. Vista is an exploration and production company that produces 130,000 barrels of oil per day, generating an annual EBITDA of $2 billion and delivering a compound annual growth rate of 22% since 2017. Our conviction is running on these 5 investment theses. The first one is Vista's top-notch position in Vaca Muerta. Vista is the only pure shale oil operator in Argentina's energy crown jewel, Vaca Muerta, an unconventional formation globally recognized for its scale and productivity. With over 1,300 future drilling locations, the company has a long runway for growth, reinforcing its competitive position. Second, industry-leading cost efficiency. Since day one, Vista has steadily driven down its cost structure, positioning itself as one of the most efficient operators in Latin America. Third, founder-led management with proven ability to create value. Since its foundation in 2017, Vista has accumulated years of technical, operational, and financial expertise thanks to its management deep field knowledge. Fourth, oil-weighted portfolio that delivers stronger margins and cash flow generations. As you can see on the pie chart, 96% of Vista's production is represented by oil. Because the company can sell all of its crude at Brent-linked prices, it fully benefits from a constructive outlook for Brent prices as supply constraints and resilient demand support a midterm commodity price around $75 per barrel. This translates into stronger margins and cash flow generations relative to gas-weighted peers. And fifth, still overlook upside from Argentina's macroeconomic shift. Falling inflation, fiscal discipline, and FX convergence have restored macro stability. Reforms have unlocked critical midstream capacities and helped reduce the country's risk premium, reducing the spread in Vista's WACC.
Now I'll walk you through Vista's numbers. Vista's financial performance reflects the strength of its pure shale oil strategy. Since 2020, the company has more than doubled its production, driven by an aggressive shift towards shale oil. This was achieved through a mix of divestitures, mergers, and acquisitions that allowed Vista to be Argentina's #1 shale oil exporter and second largest shale oil producer. A key milestone for the company was the acquisition of Petronas Argentina, which not only accelerated Vista's production, but also strengthened its financial position, as 20% of the output from this block is exempt from export duties and currency repatriation requirements. In terms of cost, Vista has firmly established itself as one of the most efficient operators in Vaca Muerta. Its lifting cost dropped from $9 per barrel of oil equivalent in 2020 to $4.50 per barrel of oil equivalent today. This allowed Vista to be operating cash flow positive even with Brent prices above $40 and to maintain its profitability with Brent prices above $21 per barrel. As a result, Vista has consistently delivered strong operating cash flows while reinvesting heavily to grow the business. Looking ahead, we expect free cash flow to turn positive by 2026, allowing the company to build a meaningful cash position, unlocking its financial flexibility for dividends, share repurchases, expansion programs, or debt repayments.
Now, turning to ESG. For Vista, this is not a ticking-the-box exercise. It is a risk lens we develop ourselves. Instead of relying on third-party ESG score ratings, we develop our own scorecard based on financial materiality among the 3 ESG pillars. When it comes to conservation of the natural world, Vista stands as one of the rare cases of an exploration and production company that consistently grew its volumes while lowering its emissions intensity. Since 2018, Vista has roughly tripled its production while lowering its emissions intensity around 40%. When it comes to social and human capital, Vista has one of the lowest incident rates among its competitors in Vaca Muerta. Despite operating in one of the highly unionized countries in the region, Vista has also the privilege to operate in one of the few industries with salaries growing in real terms. Lastly, governance is robust and is backed up by our three main pillars. First, most of the board members are independent, a world-class management within the industry, and proven efforts to enhance disclosure. Also, we have detected some nice-to-haves that would unveil higher scores. ESG does not only not call for a premium or a penalty in our model, but also it supports our strong buy recommendation.
Moving on to the valuation section, we calculated our target price with a blended approach, 80% from our net asset valuation model and 20% from our relative valuation to cross-check its integrity. We relied primarily on the NAV because, unlike a traditional free cash flow to the firm, it properly shows the economics of a shale operator with finite reserves and fixed-term concessions which expire in 2054. This means a perpetuity assumption would overstate Vista's value. The cost of capital used in our model was calculated as the average yield to maturity of outstanding bonds for the cost of debt, and the Goldman Sachs model for the cost of equity, as it best captures country-specific risk in emerging markets. To validate our model, we ran a relative valuation against a broad set of LATAM and US shale peers. We used three key forward-looking multiples, two of them relating enterprise value to EBITDA and one to proven reserves. This was to ensure consistency with market pricing. With this, we identified three main catalysts that we believe will help unlock value in the next 12 months. First, ongoing negotiations between the current administration and the opposition are expected to support macroeconomic improvement, as a new set of reforms planned for 2026 aim to reduce the cost of doing business in Argentina. Second, we expect Brent prices to converge towards $75 nominal per barrel by 2030, as supply remains constrained given the geopolitical outlook. Higher Brent levels translate into stronger margins and higher realized prices. And third, Vista intends to accelerate its drilling plan to 90 wells per year. Longer laterals, along with standardized designs, will lift production. Stronger results are a key catalyst, since we strongly believe the associated cash flow uplift is not yet priced in market projections. Finally, our sensitivity analysis shows limited downside risk even under conservative assumptions. In our bear case scenario, which is a $60 Brent and a slower drilling pace of 65 wells per year, the implied value is still near current trading levels, representing a real good outlook for Vista.
Hi, I present the risk that we sensitize in our evaluation. The key takeaway is that no single risk sits in the high likelihood, high impact corner, what supports our strong buy recommendation. As a pure shale oil operator in Argentina, Vista is mainly exposed to three types of risk. First, Argentina's macroeconomic and political risk, including uncertainty around continuity of reforms, capital controls, government intervention in strategic assets, and weak economic growth. Vista is partially shielded, as it can export a significant share of its production. Also, YPF's strategic presence in Vaca Muerta makes government intervention as highly unlikely. And broader legislative support after midterm elections increases the odds that reforms outlast the current administration. In addition, part of Vista's revenues remain abroad, softening the impact of possible capital controls. Second, the Brent price volatility. This could put pressure on margins, cash generation, and most importantly, the stock price. However, Vista is exceptionally well positioned to counter this. With an EBITDA break-even below $21 per barrel, highlights the strong position of the company even under stress price scenarios. Moreover, contracts are priced at the 30 days moving average, providing partial hedging against short-term declines. And third, the main company-specific risk, weaker productivity. This would have a direct impact in our valuation, since it's directly related to our third catalyst. It could materialize through steeper decline curves, lower EURs, or smaller inventories. However, not only that production did not decline, it has increased. Vista has expanded its lateral length, and increase its inventories by de-risking some areas of the rocks, a testament of the operational continuous excellence that the company has.
To sum up, our 5 investment theses support our strong buy recommendation. The top-notch position in Vaca Muerta, the industry-leading cost efficiency, our fund-led management, our strong margins and cash generation, and more to come from Argentina's macroeconomic outlook are the alpha-seeking value drivers for our weight all cash machine. Thank you for your attention, and we are ready to answer your questions.
Reiniciamos el reloj, si les parece, y tenemos 10 minutitos de preguntas.
Hola. In English, am I right? Questions in English?
Yes, in English.
Okay. Thank you very much, guys, and congratulations for the presentation. Quite interesting. My question relates to the net leverage of the company. As you know, the company has been rising capitals, for example, for BNP Pasa. How did you model the net leverage of the company, and how do you expect that ratio to come in the next years?
Hi, thank you for your question. I'm glad to take it. So for the model, we modeled against the net debt to EBITDA ratio provided by the outlook of the company. And so that is a one-time EBITDA net debt to EBITDA. And that is how we forecasted the debt repayments and debt emissions for future years.
Do you have any concern about the net leverage of the company today?
Currently, the company stays at around 1.6 times net debt to EBITDA, and
Yep.
they expect to lower that multiple to a 1 times net debt to EBITDA. The current situation in terms of solvency and liquidity of the company are good, so we are not worried about the current level of debt of the company.
Good, thank you.
Yes, you mentioned that Vista is break-even at an EBIT, and it is EBITDA break-even at a Brent price below $21. What's the level, the Brent price level, where you think that Vista has to start changing its growth in order not to over-lever or start losing?
Yeah, hello, I'm glad to take that question. Can you please go to the break-even prices? Yeah, as we know, the company has been having negative free cash flow since it has been in an aggressive expansion profile, but we identified 3 main break-even levels. Fuel break-even level with a $17 per barrel, which Vista can keep its operating costs, its royalties, and its transportation. And as my teammate also mentioned, we have an EBITDA break-even level. It is above $21. And most important, to answer your question, our free cash flow break-even, in which we estimated a $40 per barrel break-even level, in which above that can finance its expansion without debt.
Thank you.
How do you assess the expansion plans of the company? Do you think it's realizable, and do you think how is the company going to do it, with free cash flow or with debt? What do you think?
Okay, thank you for your question. So we expect free cash flow to turn positive by 2026. Vista has been for the prior years on a very aggressive growth plans. That is the reason of the negative free cash flows. We don't expect the free cash flow to turn negative from now on. But in case it has to be with a free cash flow negative, probably the company will cover it with debt for the future years.
Sorry, I would like to add something to that. That aligns to the company track record of issuing debt to finance activity during the past years when free cash flow was negative. And it has a great capacity to access to international markets of debt. So that's why we consider it would follow its track record in order to finance its operations or its expansion in case free cash flow turns negative again.
Thank you. When the company went to the international markets to finance or to seek debt, it was very aggressive, and the debt wasn't performing very well after that, the first issue. Do you think it harmed its ability to continue tapping the market?
So we don't think it will harm for future net debt divisions. What happened in the first emission of Vista, it's not today it's a more developed company, and we think with the emissions we have been seeing on the past years and the prior more recent years, net debt divisions could be taken positive by the market.
Thank you guys for the presentation. I am very worried about the next government, so maybe if you could explain a bit more the system of royalties we have here in Argentina, and also if you think that if there is in the next government an increase in the royalties or there is a tax on production, the impact on the company. I don't know, maybe if there is a loss in the value, a lot of loss in the value or not, but I am not very clear about the royalties and the situation that the company could afford an increase in the taxes, a special tax or an increase in the royalties.
Hello, I'm pleased to take that question. Based on our 5 investment theses, the 5th one was related to Argentinian macroeconomic, if you remember, but also Vista has the possibility to operate besides the bad performing macro conditions of the country, since it's lowering cost and increasing productivity, and also the current government establishes, in relationship to laws I'm talking, long-term concessions with fixed royalties, and that wouldn't be like a worry in the midterm for Vista.
I would like, sorry, my partner there would like to add something in the back.
Hola. Hi. Yes. I would like to add something related to the change in government that you asked. Relating to that, given the last midterm elections, the current government is now the first minority, and its the alliance between the current government and Mauricio Macri's ex-government gives them really good support for structural reforms that we believe will outlast this government, given the legislative reforms that they are doing. They're not just executive decrees, so we believe they're going to outlast the government. Therefore, they're not going to jeopardize the company's operations. Moreover, I would like to go back to our to the company's cost efficiency and low break-even prices that support this kind of changes that could happen in regulation. Thank you.
Okay, but today, how much are the royalties that the company is paying?
The average royalty the company is paying on Vaca Muerta is around 15% of their production.
Okay, and there is room to increase that royalties if there is a law in the Congress?
We don't consider that there's room for increasing royalties because there's a consensus around developing Vaca Muerta as a strong cash generation for the country and dollar inflows. So we don't believe that that's something that could materialize.
Okay, but maybe there is a possibility. No, now there is no possibility, but maybe in 2 years could be. So the idea is how will be the impact of that in the value of the company? Maybe you say for 5% of increasing royalties, the company lost maybe $5 in value, no, in the stock.
Okay, given that scenario where the royalties rate gets higher in future years, we think the value will be diluted for future years. But given the higher EBITDA margins the company has today, around 65%, and the higher operating margins the company has today, that is around 40%. There might be room for, in the scenario of the royalties get high in the future. Obviously, it will lower our valuation since it's a cost structure that it's not priced in today, but the company will be able to mitigate it in a good way.
Okay, thank you, guys.
A question I have. One of the things that strikes me the most in your presentation is the downside case scenario that you painted. The stock traded below that price only a few months ago, and it traded down to $2 per share 4 years ago. So how do you think of that downside case scenario?
Okay, so the assumptions for our base case scenario are a drilling well pace of 60 wells per year and an average Brent price of $65 per barrel, and that represents the current trading around the current trading limit. So that is why we mentioned the attractive relation between the downside risk and the opportunity on the upside.
Perfecto. Ok. Tiempo cumplido, chicos. Muchas gracias. Bueno, perfecto. Tendrían que evaluar, estaba pensando si podrían pensar en los jueces se ponen algún puntito más por la corbata, digamos, ¿no? Corbata al tono de la compañía, además, eso es muy importante. Que ahora veo que hay incompetencia ahí. La pregunta para Florencia sería si van vestidos así a vista, con corbatas del color de la empresa, del logo. ¿Cómo se podría implementar? Ahí va, perfecto. Fantástico. Solo un comentario mientras preparamos la presentación. La forma, digamos, algunas de las formas que hay en inversiones de mirar las cosas son, por un lado, solamente precios y lo que se llama análisis técnico, y por el otro lado, lo que estuvieron haciendo los chicos recién, que es lo que se llama análisis de fundamentales. Esta es la manera con la que una persona profesional de inversiones, dentro de una de las ramas, digamos, de las especialidades, analiza qué es conveniente y qué no es conveniente para invertir, con lo cual eso es un poco lo que estuvieron viendo. Bueno, chicos, adelante, por favor. La presentación. The floor is yours, guys.
What's the name of the team? ¿Cómo es el nombre? El name of the team is
Good evening, everyone. We are here to present you our valuation of Vista Energy. We have arrived at a 1-year target price of $68, which implies an upside of 33%. Vista Energy is a pure-play and conventional upstream company in Vaca Muerta. It is the largest independent producer and leading crude oil exporter in the country. It produces 127,000 BOE per day with a very efficient lifting cost of $4.4 per BOE. Since 2018, it has multiplied its proved reserve by 9, reaching a level of 375 BOE. The 62% of its crude is exported at spot parity prices, making it a strong dollar generator and shareholder value. In a highly competitive market, led by YPF and Pan American Energy, Vista already captures around 13% of 2025 production of Argentina.
Our investment thesis is based in 5 key strengths. The first one is a favorable macroeconomic context through pro-market reforms and the country risks declining. Then the business efficiency. Vista has become a leader in the area, and they were reducing their cost. Pipelines and export capacity through infrastructure like BMOS and all the bulk pipelines, and Vista will be able to export at parity prices. Concessions are the main assets of the companies, of the company, and the company have the right until 2054, and the proved reserves are growing, and the future projection targeting an adjusted EBITDA of 2.8 billion by 2028. Moving on to the investment risks. We separate our analysis in 4 different groups: market, operational, political, and regulatory, and financial. Regarding market and financial, we consider like the most important of both groups, oil price volatility and the access to financing. We have to highlight that Vista has the 50% of the outcomes of La Amarga Chica block, but the company has not the control of the cost and the productive efficiency. And the last one and the most important and critical risk that the company has is the political and regulatory group with all the instability that the country has, and it could impact in exchange control and price control.
When building Vista evaluation, we consider different local and global factors. First, the Brent futures curve shows a positive outlook, moving from a backwardation structure to a contango. In addition, the historical real Brent price is down 20% from its historical mean. So this gives Vista a strong long-term price floor and a good cash flow perspective. Globally, the Fed rate cut expectations are good for emerging markets. Markets believe with high probabilities that interest rate will be by 3% by 2027. So lower interest rate and a weaker dollar will lead to a good environment for emerging markets to compress their interest rate and for Argentina to convert toward its peers. As you can see, Argentina still has 300 BPS to reach El Salvador's yield. In addition, locally, Argentina is doing a good job. It has fiscal solvency, inflation declining, while inflation expectations are anchored. In addition, we decided to run a debt sustainability analysis to project Argentina's debt weakness, and we found that the debt-GDP ratio could be stabilized or even decline. Nevertheless, we think that the market should pay close attention to the bond exchange rate system, because as you can see, the bond is going down in real terms, and this goes exactly against the need of Argentina to accumulate reserve. And as economics shows, building reserve is a necessary condition for any country to stabilize, roll over debt, and grow, especially for emerging markets and peers.
Now I want to show you our methodology to estimate the oil projection and the economics input for the DCF model. First, we started by collecting all the production data for the wells that Vista has some interest in. Here we can see all the production of all the areas that Vista has some interest. La Amarga Chica is the most productive area, but if you look at the wells, the best wells in productivity are located in Bajada del Palo Este. With the production data, we perform a DCA model, a DCF analysis, which is a standard method to estimate the forecast of an oil and gas wells. This is based on production data and empirical equations. This is the equation that we use, which is one of the standard equations in the oil and gas industry, that is called modified hyperbolic. And here we are seeing how the modified hyperbolic fits the production data. As a result of this, we obtain the continuity of operations. This is the curve of production that Vista will have if Vista doesn't drill any more wells. This is important because when we start drilling wells to estimate the future production profile, we will start building over this curve. Also, as a result of the DCA analysis, we obtain the type curves that are sort of an average of all the wells to estimate the production of a new well. And combining the type curves and the continuity of operation with some constraints like drilling time, completion time, number of drilling rigs available, we obtain a production profile for all the areas. If we add the production profile of all the areas, we obtain the production profile for the whole company. Here we are seeing a low estimate, that is the P90, a medium estimate, that is the P50, and a high estimate, that is the P10. Also, we obtain the number of wells that we need to drill to meet this target, and the reserve put in production year by year. Then, with all these parameters, we obtain the revenues by multiplying the oil production times the expected oil price, the OPEX by multiplying the oil production by the lifting cost and other variable costs, plus a fixed cost for well maintenance. The CAPEX was obtained by multiplying the number of wells times the well cost and also adding the CAPEX in new facilities and new lines. And also, we obtain the amortization by multiplying the capex, but by the production over the reserves put in production until one specific year. This is the free cash flow that we obtain by using all these economics after a DCF model. DCF model, sorry.
We integrated the ESG in our evaluation model using the ESG beta approach. We use the SPICE framework, and we also use it supported by the principle for responsible investment. Environmentally, Vista has taken meaningful steps into a good performance. Socially, Vista has been in a good process, but recently workforce injuries may be an area of improvement. Then in governance, Vista stood out from its peers and for independence and for compliance. With this taking all of this into consideration, we issue a B rating for Vista, so we are not going to put any percentage in the beta scores. In our valuation price target comes from a multi-model framework. We weighted the discounted cash flow model, the net asset value model, the relative valuation, and we weighted extreme scenarios. For the DCF model, we use the P50 production curve. With P50 production curve, 3 macro scenarios shaped by different country risk premiums and different different country risk premium. Later on, we did a dynamic WACC scenario because Argentina's volatility, and we did here the adjust beta. We put a 0 for the adjust beta. Later on, our second method was net asset value, and we use each block's cash flows and weighted it for its we weighted these cash flows for the multiple reserves, and then we used the relative valuation. We took the EV to EBITDA ratio, and we took an in-place target price for 54. Then we use a Monte Carlo analysis to see. Okay, sorry.
Pasamos a los 10 minutitos de pregunta, por favor.
Well, yes, guys, congratulations for the presentation. Very, very interesting, particularly the part where you forecast the Q, the production. But I would like to hear a little bit more about the P, the price. How did you model the future oil prices, and how, if you use any source, or did you develop any
yes.
model or whatever?
Yes, I can answer that. We use some estimates from IAE, the International Energy Agency, to estimate the oil price until 2040. But we did some adjustment to the current oil price because that estimation was performed 1 year ago when the oil price was around 70, and now it's like 60, more or less. So we took the shape of the curve and we adjusted to the current oil price.
We also did adding to what Juanma said, we also ran a Monte Carlo scenario where we stressed out the oil prices, and that's.
What software did you use for doing that?
Sorry?
What software did you use for doing that Monte Carlo
I
simulation?
think Python, yes.
In one of the slides, you showed that you were forecasting a plateau in production, I guess. So how does that translate into how much capex the company needs, or do they keep the same capex level as today in order to have that, and how that translates into free cash flow growth? I mean.
Yes, of course. As we use a plateau using the current facilities capacity, you don't need to put more capex in facilities or new lines. You need to only add capex for the new wells. You know, always that you start drilling, your wells start to decline every time a little bit more. So you need to drill a little bit more. So every year you start drilling more and more wells to meet that plateau. So you need to invest more wells year by year until you don't have any more space. And that is the point when with the production profile reach the plateau and start to decline. And that moment, well, you only put OPEX and you start earning the oil while declining.
Thank you.
Vista has all its assets in Vaca Muerta, or the majority of them. Argentina hasn't been developing its infrastructure for the last years. Do you see any constraints in the growth plans of the company related to the infrastructure that it's available in Argentina? Do you evaluate it if there is any needs in that sense?
Not at the moment, because Vista bought the Amarga Chica with a lot of capacity to transport and treat oil, no? And also some capacity for exporting oil. Actually, that was one of the main reasons that Vista used to buy, use as an argument to buy Petronas.
Thank you.
Is Vista, in your opinion, trading at a premium or at a discount to peers in Latin America or in North American shale production? At a valuation premium or at a discount to comparable companies?
No, we did not put a premium that compares that with.
Thank you, guys, for the presentation. Do you have a sensitive analysis between the oil price and the value of the company?
Yes, we have. What we did was to stress the Vista price with like $5 from the movement from the oil price. This is the mean price for the oil and the Vista price.
Okay, this is on the target price, no? Okay.
Yes. We found that the break-even for us was $52.
In the country risk, do you have that one also?
We did not valuation analysis. What we did for the country risk was with the WACC, we stress the country risk by scenarios.
Can we see that?
Wait a moment, please. Here.
We use in the base scenario, the country risks convert to 6%. We use like a leverage industry beta and risk-free to convert to the country risk.
Okay, but I am referring that a sensitive analysis. You know, there is
no,
a
we don't
increase
have.
or decrease in. Okay. Thank you, guys.
We don't have that individually, but we have the Monte Carlo with testing all the parameters, including the WACC, the oil price, the WACC, and the cost of the lifting cost, for example, and we obtain this little Monte Carlo simulations. The one that is at the left is a high case that we obtain using the P10 production. The other one is a P90, that is a low case, and then the middle one is the medium case, stressing all the parameters.
What is, in your opinion, the most important driver for value creation in Vista?
Vista, they invest a lot in wells and produces really efficient oil and gas. Actually, one of the lowest lifting costs in Vaca Muerta.
Have you considered any infrastructure bottleneck in the future for Vista, or?
Not at the moment. They have a lot of facilities, infrastructure, and they have capacity in the other plant that they bought in La Marga Chica that has 75 barrels per day of capacity.
Are you concerned about the leverage ratio as a consequence of the acquisition of Pepasa or not?
No. Actually, if you see, La Marga Chica has a really vast amount of wells to be drilled. They have a lot of capacity to generate profit at the future and pay what Vista bought for the acquisition.
Okay.
Actually, I did that for my thesis, and it's earning value for the company, even with the debt.
Thank you.
Would you say there's any sensitivity of results to a peso depreciation or appreciation?
With the bear case scenario, we consider an FX gap in case the cepo is back, but then we didn't do any stress scenario with peso.
Ok, bueno, muchas gracias, chicos.
Thank you very much.
No sé si queda algo más.
Thank you.
Perfecto. Bueno, gracias. Ahí está el pasador. Bueno, mientras les cuento un poco más, yo cuando hablé al principio les mencionaba lo que hacíamos. El programa del CFA es el programa paraguas que nos reúne y que nos certifica todos los años. La sociedad madre que sponsorea eso es el CFA Society, y debajo, una vez que nosotros tenemos la certificación, nos vamos acomodando. Por favor, vayan pasando. Nos vamos, según donde veamos nosotros, vamos armando distintas sociedades y nos vamos agrupando. La competencia que están viendo ustedes, digamos, reúne a la CFA Society de Argentina, más la CFA Society uruguaya, y han competido chicos también de países como Bolivia, que por ahí no hay society allá, y se vinculan con Argentina, con lo cual fue un espectro bastante interesante. Argentina de todas las partes del país también, pero bueno, simplemente para darles un poquito más de background de del resto de los equipos. Así que, por favor, adelante.
Hola. Hola. Good afternoon, everyone. We are Fusion Consulting, and today we will present our investment view on Vista Energy, a leading shale operator in Vaca Muerta. Our thesis supports a buy recommendation with an attractive upside. Vista is the #2 shale oil producer in Argentina, with a strong growth visibility and export-oriented crude sales. Vista also delivers solid cash generation combined with a disciplined capital structure and a robust ESG performance. The production is 85.5 thousand barrels per day, with a growing year-over-year of 55%. Adjusted EBITDA guidance stands at $1.8 billion, supported by more than 1,400 drilling locations, and it has one of the lowest lifting costs in the region. Looking at the stock, we set a target price of $59, supported by more than a 20% of potential upside. This projection reflects both Vista's recent performance and our confidence on forward fundamentals. Vista's management team is one of its key strengths. Led by Miguel Galucho, the team brings deep shale expertise and a proven ability to grow and scale operations efficiently. Vista also has high-quality reserves with a strong long-term visibility. Replacement ratios above 100% support sustainable production and long-term future cash generation, Regarding operational efficiency is one of the main drivers of value for Vista. Drilling and completion costs are expected to fall 23% by 2028, and lifting costs have already improved 59% since 2019, supported by pad drilling, real-time frac planning, infield and logistics, and service debundling as main drivers.
Following on ESG, Vista has an estimated risk score of 31, which is a moderate to high risk score, but with strong management of this risk. On the environmental side, Vista targets 7 kilograms of carbon dioxide per barrel by 2026, and to eliminate the routine flaring by 2030. And the company also invested in 2024 9.5 million on eliminating emissions, reducing 27% on direct emissions and 37% on electricity-related emissions. Also, the company has 43,000 hectares on conservation projects through IKI, which will generate future income credits from carbon. On the social side, Vista has a retention of 98% of their key employees through well-being programs, training and gender equality initiatives, and the company has 0 major accidents and a lower tier rate. The company also sources 22% from local suppliers, which generates growth on the region and maintains 0 conflicts with the population. On the governance side, the Vista has an 83% board that is independent, and they had 0 incidents of corruption or discrimination, and they also has a compensation policy that is tied to performance with clawback policy.
Well, moving on to the financial analysis, we want to start with a brief industry review. Vista operates in the high margin upstream segment. Regarding Argentina, oil production is growing. First of all, driven by Vaca Muerta. Vista has capitalized on this, becoming the second largest unconventional oil player. Regarding growth, Vista has demonstrated good numbers on the past, and now it's on a more stable phase. But we still see solid revenues and quarterly peaks driven by M&As. Critically, ROE and ROA metrics remain solid despite market normalization. Our valuation is based principally on our DCF model, as we consider it the most consistent one, and complemented by a multiples-based approach. On our DCF, we project to reach more than 1,400 wells by 2040. It's a more aggressive number than what Vista has on its plans, driven by they are continually increasing its targets. On our production forecast, we made it till 2043. That's the year we consider reserves will be completely depleted. And we also considered a diminution in production of existing wells regarding as the shale oils wealth has on its lifetime. Regarding revenues projections, we consider a growth till 2040 and then a more stable phase. On the other hand, EBITDA will continue after that for cost efficiencies.
Well, we estimated Vista WACC considering how leverage changed after the Petronet acquisition. In the short term, leverage remains high, but then stabilized after the year 2032. Regarding the cost of risk is based on KPM model. We use 4% risk-free rate, 5.3% market risk premium, and 1.42 leverage beta, which decrease as leverage falls. Also, we decided to add a 0.3% ECG risk premium to consider Vista moderate risk. For the cost of debt, we review all issuance since 2021, and we determine at 8.7% before taxes and 6.5% after taxes under the Reseach regime. Finally, we define 3 WACC scenarios driven by 3 different country risk trajectories, allowing us to study how Argentina macro evolution impacts on Vista valuation. Well, as you can see, capital structure remains 56%, 44% debt to equity value until 2032, and then return to a more balanced structure. Our DCF yield a $9.5 billion enterprise value and $7.1 billion equity value, resulting in a target price of $61 per share and an implied EV over EBITDA multiple of 13 times. To validate the DCF, we perform multiple analysis on 5 upstream peers based on EV over EBITDA and EV over CapEx, resulting on evaluation price of $42 and $60 per share. And our price value scenario, the base case scenarios converge to $59, the bull to $65, and the bear to $26, resulting that Vista remains undervalued due to the performance and cash generation capacity.
Okay, continue with the valuation model. We put to practice a sensibility analysis to show up which variable was the most relevant for Vista business model. As you can see, moving up or down at 10% of each variable, it's notorious that the Brent price is the most relevant factor, changing the stock price at least at 30%. Then we simulated 15,000 scenarios with Monte Carlo analysis, changing 5 different variables arbitrarily, such as the lifting cost, the capital expense, drilling expenses, the interest rate rate, the Brent price, and Argentina risk country premium. And the mean and median target price was on $62, really close from our target price of $59. Then we also made a technical analysis approach. We see a convergence between the stock price and the EMAs and moving average prices. We see an uptrend trying to break up the $50 resistance level that it has on that graph. Also, talking about the risks, we divided in 4 different kind of groups, depending on the impact and probability to occur them. And the main group is the one that has the Brent price volatility, the foreign exchange rate risk, and regulatory risks. To sum up, our target price of $59 is accompanied by 80% of DCF model and 20% of multiple approach ratios. Our recommendation is that we suggest to buy Vista at these stock prices. Well, to close up, we just want to thank you for hearing us. We appreciate to be here, and we are able to answer any kind of question you have. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys. 10 minutes from now. Come on.
Yes, thank you, guys. Congratulations for the presentation. I have a couple of questions. The first one is, have you compared the ESG figures that you consider against other Argentinian companies? In other words, did you do a relative analysis of the ESG figures that you explained of Vista? First question.
Yes, to build the score that we provide to Vista, that we calculate for Vista the 31, we have been searching on different websites, different sources like Yahoo Finance, Bloomberg, and other ones. And we also perform a benchmark analysis between the comparable companies that we include in our analysis. That was IPF, ExxonMobil, GeoPark, ConocoPhillips, and Obitim.
So ConocoPhillips, GeoPark, ExxonMobil, and YPF. Why did you choose those 4 companies as companies that can be compared with Vista beside ESG in general terms?
Yes, well, we know that in Vista we don't have a perfect comparable business, but well, we have to look for companies to compare, and that is why we also choose the 2 ratios that we show you before, because we think that they are the most suitable and related to the price that Vistas achieve. But well, also we need to compare with business that we have access to information, because not all of them are public. For example, the case of Tech Petrol is not a public, but maybe it's more comparable with Vista.
And besides of that, we also compare to YPF to look for a company that also resides in Argentina, because we know that the macroeconomics here are not the same that are outside. So we looked for a local company and also for international companies to find some match in there.
And we also try to focus on the upstream segment. But on the previous slide, there was a chart, yeah, where we compare them and we give them a score of red, yellow, or red for each one. We did this for environment, social, and governance too.
And how do you take it into account in the evaluation? Did you consider the ESG?
Yes, we considered it in the WACC calculation. We put a 0.3 risk premium, and we based our decision doing some research and investigation. We found out some MSCI and price reports where they talked specifically about oil and gas industry. So in the reports they suggested for this industry to adjust the WACC by 0.2 to 0.5 percentiles. So by the analysis we made on ESG, we decided to put a 0.3 in the WACC calculation.
Yes, because as I mentioned before, it's a moderate risk for us.
May I have a theoretical question on valuation for you? What would you think? It's not about the model. No? What would you think of to calculate your cost of equity? Is the risk-free rate for a company in Argentina if the corporate bonds yield less than the sovereign? Do you have a thought on that? It's not on the model.
Well, that is a good question. A tricky one also. Well, I'm going back to walk. Please walk. For example, in our base case scenario, we took into consideration, the leverage, the debt equity, the risk-free rate, the market risk premium, the leverage beta, the size premium, and what impact more in our valuation and we consider more is the country risk premium. I have to admit that at the first time we evaluated and then we have a change in Argentina and we have to recalculate all of that. That is my thought. In our case, what impacts more is the country risk premium.
Thank you, guys, for the presentation and girls. If you have to compare the valuation of the company, the value of the company, if you use 100% in DCF, how much will be? And if you have to use the enterprise value of EBITDA 100%, how much will be? If you had to compare the two values.
I can answer that question if you, sorry. In the back. So,
because there is a point there.
Yes. Well, this is the. Let me see. a second. In our price by methodology, the price of DCF model, if we only use the 100% that model, it was on $61, and enterprise value over the EBITDA it was like over $40. By capex, the other target multiple approach that you use was also by $60.
Okay, I mean, if you want to use the enterprise value EBITDA, and the 10% is $4, the 100% is $40. Okay.
Exactly.
The value.
Yeah.
Okay. And in DCF, 80% is $49, and the 100% could be maybe $60.
By the capex?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's $8 plus 9. No, because see, maybe 59.
Yeah, 59.
Okay. So it's lower using the enterprise value EBITDA than the DCF. What do you think is that?
Well, we suppose that Argentina multiples are like a little undervalued that if you compare it by the other companies. That's why we think that because Vista was valued like 4 enterprise value by EBITDA at the time that we valued it, and that's why we think that the DCF model and looking at the reserves and the production that we've seen how we're going to be produced and the revenues, it's more that model than the multiple approach rate, the enterprise value EBITDA. That's why we think that the reason.
Okay, are you saying that the market is not correct value this one? Oh, okay. I think.
I mean, if you only use as a 100% that ratio, probably, and compare it with the DCF, with the supposition that of how is the production going on by the guidance that they bring the company, we think that the DCF is more over than what expects the multiple approach right now. Yes.
Yeah, I think that. Are you using the enterprise value EBITDA for 2005? No.
Use the closing for the balance sheets of every company of the peers. That it was the annual close of every company.
For the end of this year.
We didn't estimate. We used the close one from the 2024.
Okay, so the difference is there is no growth in that multiple, and there is growth in the DCF.
Exactly.
So the idea is when I want to compare maybe YPF with Vista, no, both companies are growing. So the idea is if I have to compare that one with the multiples, which company I have to choose? You know, because I want to pay the growth, but I am paying the growth now. So I want a premium that maybe I am paying right now and I don't have in the future, you know. So for me, maybe we could see the comparables.
Yeah.
Because if you see the enterprise value EBITDA for YPF, it's lower than the other ones. That one, enterprise value EBITDA 3.5. So that's Argentina, no? That's the risk of Argentina right now.
Yes.
So if you use that one, maybe it's lower than $40, the value of the company, no? Because are you taking an average, no, of the enterprise value EBITDA?
Yeah, we made an average.
Okay.
Estamos en tiempo cumplido, chicos. Última respuesta, último segundo, dale.
No,
ya está. Perfecto. Muy bien. Bueno, muchísimas gracias.
Gracias.
Excelente. Bueno, como verán, bastantes predicciones sobre el precio del petróleo, lo cual es como mucho valiente. Distintas formas de evaluar las compañías también, como habrán visto. ¿Estamos por aquí? Bueno, adelante. Perfecto.
Good afternoon to everyone. Have you ever wondered where the growth potential lies in the global energy market? Today, our team will answer that question. It is in Vista Energy. Based in its financials and fundamentals and strategic position, we issue a buy recommendation on Vista stock with a target price of $56. That means an upside of 10% from the last closing price. Vista was founded in 2017 as a SPAC in Mexico and quickly acquired assets in the Vaca Muerta formation in 2018. By 2019, the company completed its listing on the New York Stock Exchange and today is the largest oil producer independent in Argentina. Okay. About the competitive overview, Vista operates in a high concentrated market compared with YPF, Pan American Energy, and Shell. However, Vista's competitive advantage is still unmatched because of two key pillars. The first one is the cost efficiency. Vista has achieved the lowest lifting cost on the basin. Its average of $4.6 per barrel, it's an advantage of 55% over the industry average, which is $10.2 per barrel. And the other one is the operational efficiency. It's actually structured, the focus on the high quality, and the concentration, the concentrate the portfolio in the core of Vaca Muerta enables high and quick margins. About the business overview, the core of our investment thesis rests on the Vaca Muerta. The Vaca Muerta shale oil is over 50% of the Argentina's national crude production. So the VMOS pipeline infrastructure is a transformational step for Vaca Muerta, which remove bottlenecks and enables export growth. This expansion facilitates a shift to Brent-linked export pricing, so it can increasing revenue realization and Vista's abilities to achieve its target production of 200,000 barrels per day by 2030. And about the productivity, Vista consistently outperforms Vaca Muerta and Permian peers. The company also had grown the proved reserves by nearly 200% since 2020. Next, my colleague will present the first of our three reasons to the buy recommendation.
Thank you, Lisandro. Now, building on the competitive landscape Lisandro just showed, Vista, our investor thesis rests on three key pillars. Firstly, asset quality. Vista is a pure shale operator. Nextly, best-in-class efficiency. Vista has one of the lowest lifting costs on the basin, standing at $4.4 per barrel. And lastly, robust balance sheets. Vista has the ability to deleverage and focus on acquiring or M&As or other possible situation in the markets rapidly. Now, going to the financial sections, we can see revenue growing at 9.6% CAGR and EBITDA margins above 60%. This is thanks to the pillars we talked about, the advantages of asset quality, scale efficiencies, and cost control. Now, on the capital allocation bar charts, we can see how Vista is able to get a cumulative free cash flow of 2.3 billion between 2026 and 2030. This shows an advantage of the company that when they start with a steady production, they can accumulate fast cash rapidly. Now, going to the debt to equity path, we can see that they went from 127% leverage to peer US peer comparisons, multiple comparisons, because due to la amarga chica in 2025. That's it's. Oh, I forgot to mention about how this virtuous cycle of more production, more free cash flow, lower leverage, lower WACC becomes a higher valuation. Speaking of valuation, we used a blended approach, 80% discounted DCF and 20% multiples comparison analysis. Starting with the DCF, Vistas, we use a multi-WACC approach, declining, reflecting reduced leverage throughout the years and a Argentinian country risk compression towards regional peers. This with a 3.5% growth rate and a ROIC of 12% by 2030. Evaluation must withstand uncertainty. That's why we built a heat map showing Brent prices and country risk sensibilities. We can see that even at $50 Brent prices, Vista remains a positive free cash flow company. And our Monte Carlo analysis confirms this. We can see that 60% of the simulations distributions were above the target price, with a positive skew towards upside. Lastly, the peers valuations shows that Vista is trading at a discount. We can see the enterprise over productions multiple standing at 30 times versus 40.3 times peers average. Taking Vista's highly efficiency and outstanding margins, we see this valuation compressing, reducing, narrowing to US comparables. Now, a valuation alone in this market is not enough. Taking a premium multiple requires a premium sustainability profile. Morena is going to walk us through how Vistas manage water use and community impact.
We know that in shale, environmental performance is becoming a core driver in cost, access, and long-term competitiveness, and Vista is setting the way. It has already reduced its greenhouse gas emissions by 30% since 2021, and it's already targeting 7 kilograms of carbon dioxide barrel equivalent by 2026, becoming one of the lowest intensity producers in the region. Through its subsidiary Ike, Vista also holds a nature-based portfolio with the goal of fully matching Vista emissions by 2026. This evidences the company's commitment with the conservation of the natural world. On the social front, Vista has improved a lot, mainly in the gender inclusion area, but still has a lot of work ahead in order to achieve broader gender parity. It has strong security indices, and it has shown its commitment to community development through its constant investment. On the governance front, we know we have a strong governance and governance proved by the market, led by Miguel Galuccio, whose long-standing experience in the market has shaped a culture of integrity and flexibility known as the Vista Way. Ultimately, we made a scorecard to objectively evaluate all these parameters, getting a B+ rating, showing Vista's strong position in ESG, mainly in this market constraints that it's the oil and gas industry. Vista faces three main risks: oil price volatility, macro instability, and competitive M&A pressure, which mitigates through its capital allocation strategy and operational efficiency. Ultimately,
sorry. 10 minutes questions, please.
Yes. Thank you, guys. Congratulations for the presentation. I have a couple of questions. The first one is, you mentioned that the lifting cost of the average lifting cost of the industry is $10.2 against Vista with 4.4. How did you estimate the industry average? What companies did you use for achieving that figure of 10.2?
well, that I can take this one, it's okay. That number was related from market consensus, and it's important to remark that the number includes conventional and unconventional resources, but still comparing Vista's conventional with maybe one of the most competitive threats that maybe represents YPF, that is showing its pure play, also focus on shale. When comparing the 4.4, YPF's last reporting was about $5 per $5 lifting cost per barrel on pure shale. So
Good.
it still keeps its advantage among peers.
Okay, good. And a good answer. And then when you do the relative analysis, you choose 6 companies, Magnolia, etc. There, if we can get back to that slide. Yeah, Magnolia Oil, etc. Why did you choose these companies and none from Argentina?
Well, if we see Argentina, mainly Vaca Muerta, most, if not all of Vista's competitors are integrated companies, YPF, Shell. So we saw it was not as comparable when we were focusing on Argentina, because other E&P or pure shale players like Vista, maybe we could compare them with Plus Petrol or Pampa, but they are, Plus Petrol particularly, which is most compared in Vaca Muerta, is not public, so we didn't have the numbers or the accurate numbers in order to reflect this. Well, we chose mainly US peers because their structure, their margin structure reflected better, and we know it lacks the country risk. No, but that's why we made scenario analysis in our valuation and a dynamic WACC in order to maybe compensate for that factor.
Thank you for the presentation. Can you go a little bit deeper on what are the different assumptions in the base, negative, and optimistic scenarios that you picture in one of the slides when you show production growing and seem to be...
Oh yeah, I know, yeah. We mainly Vistas as being a commodity, yeah. Mainly Vistas as being a commodity company is highly sensitive to oil prices. So the sensitivity, the scenarios were based on the different oil prices and different lifting costs as well. So for instance, the bull price is the one that Miguel Galucho said at the Investor Day of $70 per barrel. The bear one is $50 per barrel. We can see the strength on the company as they are able to maintain such robust EBITDA margins even with this amount of volatility.
I have a follow-on. Sorry. You have a... first, can you give me? Can you tell us what's the time frame for your target price, and why is it a buy with a 10% upside?
Of course, yes. Our target price, our target time horizon, if you may, is 12 months. We made parameters to establish if it was a buy, hold, underweight, overweight, strong buy, or sell. The parameter stands as 10% or more is a buy, underweight buy. 15% overweight, 20% strong buy. Less than 10% is a hold, less than 5% is a sell. I think I explained myself correctly.
Say it again, less than 5%?
It's a sell.
Okay.
So 5% upside or less, sell.
Thank you.
What do you think of Vista's management?
Well, we think Vista has a market-proven, we say, management because of its SPAC origins. You know, you don't give a blank check to anyone, but investors gave Miguel Galuccia because of his long track experience, mainly in YPF. So I think it's really strong. It has set strong parameters. They build on ethics, on integrity, and on flexibility mainly because of its lean corporate structure. So I think it positions as a strong governance, mainly in oil and gas industry, that could be valued as a premium for Vista.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you guys for the presentation. Why the productivity of Vista is so high comparing its competitors?
Well, mainly because of the quality of the assets, we explained a little bit in the presentation, and the recent acquisition of La Amarga Chica by Petronas increased in, say, about 50,000 barrels of oil equivalent a day average. So taking that and management guidance, which has never failed so far, projecting 200,000 barrels of oil equivalent a day, I think those are two big reasons why Vista's production is the way it is, right? Management is capable, and they are making the right M&A targets.
Yes, and maybe a third point I can add is that Vista is a pure play shale producer, and unconventional wells have proven to be more productive than conventional wells.
And
I want to add that given Vista's fast-paced drilling model, they can adjust to different oil prices their capex. So depending on the capex, they can start increasing production rapidly or decreasing it. That's flexibility also. It was not contemplated in the model because playing with oil prices and different drilling amount of wells was due to time constraint. We couldn't expand on it, but is also a reason why.
Okay, can we see the evaluation there? What is the WACC are you using?
We are using a dynamic WACC, declining from starting at 9.24%, declining to 8.09%, because we sensitivize the country risk and the cost of debt of Vista related to the country risk, and in equal manner the capital structure of Vistas, deleveraging throughout the years. So the beta changes, country risk changes, cost of equity and cost of debt changes. That's why the WACC is changing throughout the years.
Okay, the country risk is the first one, no? There in the
Is the last
graph.
one.
The last one.
6% or 600 BPS towards regional comparables, 3.5%.
Okay, and the DCF is the 80% of the value, no?
Yes.
And
Yes.
And the 20% is the
Relative
the
valuation.
value of EBITDA.
Exactly.
Okay, okay. Thank you, guys.
Are you concerned about the net leverage ratio of the company?
Sorry, could you repeat?
If you are concerned about the net leverage ratio of the company?
We can put the debt to equity slide. We can see that Vistas was also leveraged in 2021, but managed to deleverage. We're not concerned. We really, thanks to the cash flow allocation chart as well, we can see how Vistas managed to allocate the cash flow from operations entirely onto investing and financing without the need of increasing leverage. That's a big advantage of Vista as a whole, the ability to leverage and deleverage, not at will, but close to it.
Do you think that buying La Amarga Chica was a good deal for the company? It makes sense?
I think it was. It added 50,000, as I mentioned. It added a lot of new production. It is operated by YPF, so they don't have to spend so much on capex. They only receive the positives, like the returns of said assets, and the asset is of too much quality. La Amarga Chica, it really has lots, as we can see, of reservoirs they are available.
Perfecto. Ok. Bueno, muchísimas gracias, chicos. Perfecto, para las presentaciones. Bueno, mientras esperamos un poquitito ahí a los jueces que terminen de pensar, jueces bastante difíciles, digamos, ¿no? Parece, la verdad que no me hubiese gustado estar a este lado. Vamos a aprovechar el momento y la vamos a invitar entonces ahora a Florencia Collin de Vista, Relaciones con el Inversor, la persona responsable atrás de... Tuvimos varias sesiones con Florencia, con los chicos de los distintos equipos. Bueno, Florencia, no sé, contanos cómo viste las presentaciones, qué te encontraste, cómo te fue, qué te sentiste en lo que charlábamos cuando estábamos en los Zooms. Contá un poquitito de vos, antes. Bueno, contá qué hacés, por supuesto, también. Así como.
Bueno, gracias, Lionel. Estuvieron muy buenas las 4 presentaciones, los 4 grupos. Se nota que investigaron mucho y también los veías afilados en las preguntas que iban haciendo en las sesiones de Q&A que fuimos teniendo. Y me parece que muchos equipos pudieron capturar muchos de los mensajes que damos de Vista, como el crecimiento, las eficiencias, el management y la importancia que tiene ESG. Así que me parece que estuvieron muy bien. Cuento un poquito de...
Por supuesto, sí, adelante.
Estoy en Vista hace 4 años. Sí. Empecé haciendo planeamiento estratégico, ahora relación con inversores. Estudié economía y tengo un máster en finanzas también. Así que...
Muy bien. Bueno, perfecto. ¿Qué es lo que... El precio del petróleo, ¿qué te pareció?
Y me gusta que hagan las sensibilidades porque se viene moviendo... es bastante volátil y este año arrancó muy arriba, arrancó en 80 y ahora creo que está hoy en 60, 62. Así que algo que siempre hay que tener en cuenta para hacer sensibilidades, pero me parece que capturaron un buen precio, 65, 70 creo que en las presentaciones.
Sí, decía las preguntas, la verdad yo recuerdo sesiones largas, porque habitualmente nosotros por ahí van haciendo, cuando hacemos los Zooms, estos que les comentaba, habitualmente por ahí llegamos a hacer hasta 2 vueltas por los equipos, más o menos 14, 15 equipos. Esta vez realmente no llegábamos a terminar la hora y las preguntas se terminaban. La verdad
sí,
que
había muchas preguntas que
estudiaban.
Y fue un año también bastante movido e interesante, me parece, para seguir, porque tuvo Vista la adquisición de Petronas en abril. Claro. A nivel Vaca Muerta en la cuenca se desbloquearon proyectos importantes de midstream que venía desde 2023, que estaban construyendo el segundo ducto de Old del Valle y recién se puso en marcha en marzo, lo cual desbloqueó un cuello de botella que se venía acumulando. Se cerró Vaca Muerta Sur, entonces eso también como que le permite y lo soporta a Vista para continuar creciendo. Tuvimos un Investor Day ahora en noviembre.
Claro, ¿cómo le fue? Dijeron que fue bastante lindo.
Estuvo, sí. Tuvimos proyecciones de la compañía hasta 2028 y también una visión al 2030 de continuar una nueva etapa de crecimiento, decimos. Así que
¿Qué es lo que sigue? ¿Qué es lo que sigue por Vista, por delante? ¿Qué tenemos para el año que viene en Vista?
Y actualmente, después de la consolidación de La Amarga Chica, después de que siguen creciendo los activos operados, actualmente están produciendo 126.000 boedía, como fueron mencionando los chicos, y para el año que viene estamos previendo, o las proyecciones son de producir 140, así que seguir con esa tendencia de crecimiento y a 180.000 barriles día en 2028 y más de 200 en 2030.
Perfecto, fantástico. Chicos, los jueces que tengan, por favor, las calificaciones terminadas, se las podrían pasar a Sergio, así seguimos avanzando. Bueno, perfecto, Florencia, bueno, muchísimas gracias.
No, gracias a ustedes.
Vamos a seguir entonces conociendo, gracias. Esperá, tenemos algo para ti, Ahora igual después nos vamos a sacar una foto todos juntos, pero bueno, este es un pequeño acrílico para agradecer la participación. Hacemos una fotito. Muy bien, perfecto, bárbaro. Bueno, espera que seguimos con los jueces. Gustavo, primero que terminaste, adelante. Contanos un poquito cómo viste a los chicos. Estuviste el año pasado, ya estás medio entrenado en el tema.
Sí.
Bueno, contanos qué haces, por supuesto, también.
Bueno,
¿no?
Gustavo Araujo, encargado del equipo de Research y Estrategia de Criteria. Es mi segunda vez aquí. Sí. Y muy contento nuevamente de ver un alto nivel de todos los equipos participantes. Más que nada, un alto nivel bajo la presión por la que pasan. Hay que estar acá realmente y tener 10 minutos para hacer una presentación como la que hacen.
Hablando en inglés también, ¿no?
Hablando en inglés, que no es nuestra lengua, así que nada, como siempre una muy grata experiencia y felicitar primero a ellos, a los equipos, a los participantes, en segundo lugar a la compañía, a Vista, por prestarse y ayudar a los equipos a que puedan lograr este objetivo, y por supuesto a ustedes, a los organizadores, a CFA por hacer este tipo de actividades que permiten que difundir lo que se hace en el mercado de capitales.
Fantástico,
así que,
muy bien. Fantástico.
Bien, eso.
Perfecto. Bueno, espera que tenemos algo para ti.
Sí.
Esto es un premio en reconocimiento a la participación, a haber dedicado tu tiempo, porque la verdad que estamos agendas ocupadas. Muy bien, bárbaro. Claudio, ahora le toca al señor Claudio Maulhart, especialista en redes sociales. Bueno, Claudio, ¿cómo viste tu primera vez acá? ¿Cómo viste los chicos, los equipos? Dale.
Mi primera vez me pareció realmente espectacular, muy, muy entretenido ver cómo... Me parece que lo que más destacaría es, como decía Gustavo, tenían 10 minutos y manejaron el tiempo casi a la perfección, porque hay que calzar todos esos slides dentro de 10 minutos, así que me parece que lo hicieron todos muy bien. Me parece que además las presentaciones tuvieron sustancia y bueno, y después es una cuestión de...
Todos
tiene
vieron
mucho de arte.
Todos vieron cosas distintas.
Tiene
¿viste?
mucho de arte,
sí,
por eso.
Sí,
entonces,
sí.
y eso es lo importante, es que esté bien justificado lo que se dice, ¿no?
Fantástico, fantástico. Así que bueno, gracias, Claudio. Espérate que tenemos algo para ti. Aquí tienes, para que pongas en la oficina o en tu casa también. Espera, voy a hacer una foto. Dale. Ahí estamos. Gracias Claudio. Juan Ignacio Roldán, CFA, amigo de la casa. También primerizo, él ha sido grader en otras instancias, primera vez como juez. ¿Cómo lo encontraste? ¿Cómo lo viste? Contanos.
Bueno, primero gracias por la invitación, la verdad que fue una gran experiencia, me gustó mucho, me pareció muy bueno el nivel de todos los equipos en general, las presentaciones fueron buenas, como decía Claudio y Gustavo, difícil meter todo eso en 10 minutos, así que estuvieron muy bien todos los equipos. Me parece que está buenísimo el Research Challenge, que es un evento que vale la pena. Y bueno, contento por haber participado y ver las distintas visiones de los equipos. El tema del precio del crudo.
Te vi anotando mucho.
Sí, estaba ahí.
Sí.
Salgo a comprar vista mañana. Pero bueno, nada, el precio del crudo me parece que es desafiante proyectarlo para los próximos años con todo lo que está pasando en el mercado energético mundial. Así que bueno, nada, otro desafío más dentro del desafío del challenge, ¿no?
Perfecto, bárbaro, gracias. Espérate que tenemos un presente, ahí estamos, fotito. Vamos. Muy bien, bárbaro. Fabricio Gatti, señor, adelante. Bueno, Contanos, a ver, el año pasado también estuviste, ¿qué viste? ¿Cómo te gustaron los chicos, las presentaciones? ¿Cómo estuvo?
Primero, gracias por la invitación.
Dale.
Siempre es un honor estar acá con ustedes. Los vi bien, obviamente que hay diferencias. Con respecto al año pasado también se mantiene el nivel. Me parece que este año estuvieron como más challengeados por parte de los jueces. Creo que, como dijiste vos, les hicimos bastante preguntas. Creo que a todos les hicimos diferentes preguntas también, no fueron siempre las mismas. No sé si la pasaron bien ellos. Nosotros de nuestro lado estábamos más cómodos, por ahí un poco mejor. Pero me gusta la actividad, me gusta el evento. Me parece que Argentina los próximos años realmente puede entrar al mercado de capitales y desarrollarlo. Todo lo que está haciendo el CFA es fundamental para eso y para generar gente argentina que pueda trabajar en el país, digamos.
Claro, se hace falta mucho capital humano, digamos, ¿no? Lo que es research y todo eso. ¿Cómo ves? Una pregunta tal vez por ahí podría haber hecho al resto. ¿Cómo ven la industria de los analistas? ¿Cómo ven todo esto?
Bastante pobre. El mercado de capitales bastante cerrado en los últimos años. Si uno mide la comparación con respecto a PBI, Argentina todavía tiene muchísimo para crecer. Viendo otros países LATAM, lo que terminó pasando es que en general explotaron y terminaron trayendo gente de otros países a trabajar a sus propios países. Espero que como este evento haya otros y que Argentina en este crecimiento que ojalá se siga dando en los próximos años pueda generar la cantidad de gente necesaria nacida en Argentina para su propio mercado, que creo que no tenemos nada que enviarle a ningún otro mercado, solo que hay que formar y hay que, con la garra argentina, hay que sacar más gente capacitada.
¿Crees que es el momento de una nueva ronda de financiamiento de equity de las compañías o todavía es más deuda que equity el año que viene?
No sé si contestarte lo políticamente correcto o lo que creo realmente. Me parece que falta todavía un poco. Hace falta reafirmar el rumbo político 2027. Necesitamos entrar al mercado emergente. Creo que el financiamiento del equity se dio cuando era muy probable que seamos mercado emergente. Creo que el mercado va a esperar hacia ese momento y entender qué puede llegar a pasar Argentina después de 2027.
Perfecto. Chicos, no sé, perdón, Claudio, alguno de ustedes que quiera transmitir alguna opinión respecto al mercado de equity, no sé si... Dale, por favor, sí. Perdón, Fabricio, tenemos para ti el presente este. Así hacemos la foto. Muy bien, para adelante. Bárbaro, ahí estamos. Gracias. Sí.
Yo te diría que en los últimos 10, 12 años hubo alrededor de 80 IPOs en Brasil. Nosotros tuvimos nuestra última experiencia de mercado de equity realmente creciendo, te diría, en los 90, y después tuvimos un par de follow-ons en la época de Macri y IPOs, el de aeropuertos, si querés, y alguna cosa pero cosas muy como salteadas esporádicas. En ese momento parecía que había un montón de empresas en el pipeline, de empresas internacionales queriendo salir y salir vía el mercado, pero no se llegó a tiempo. Creo que hay un componente que es la presencia del FGS en el equity de tantas empresas, que ha sido un factor, no sé cómo decir, muy negativo para incentivar a nuevos players a entrar en el mercado, porque se ha jugado con eso muchas veces, ¿no? Entonces, y le ha quitado liquidez al mercado.
Claro, perfecto.
Pero sí, que debería ser el paso siguiente. Si las cosas siguen bien, debería haber gente que va al mercado de acciones para levantar, porque hay un punto en que no podés seguir levantando deuda hasta el infinito, ¿no?
Está claro. Gustavo, ¿querés agregar algo?
No, sí, en la misma línea, ¿no? De a poco empezamos a ver una Argentina que se ordena, se necesita tiempo, las empresas no van al mercado de capitales a financiarse vía equity con apenas un poco de estabilidad macroeconómica y algo más. Va a llevar tiempo, esperemos que este recinto, que Valo pueda actuar en ese sentido en los próximos años, pero falta, sí.
Perfecto. Luz, si pueden ir pasando los chicos, si ya estamos acercando al final. Yo lo único que quiero agregar es, estos años han sido años de mercado en donde reinó, les diría yo, el pricing más por una cuestión de convergencia sistémica, llamémosla, que muchas veces por un tema relativo, con lo cual todo lo que es el expertise del análisis del equity y creo que va a ser cada vez más vigente. Además porque sinceramente ya ahora no todo es lo mismo, lo acaban de ver ustedes en la presentación, el detalle y la cuestión, digamos, finita respecto de qué compañía representa el mejor prospecto o no, ya no es simplemente una compresión de riesgo país, ¿no es cierto? Así que creo que es un mercado súper interesante. Esperemos, digamos, hemos visto en otros momentos realmente equipos analistas muy fuertes y esperemos que eso vuelva y del lado nuestro estamos tratando de poner todo lo que podemos. Sergio, ¿estamos? Agustín, dale. Lo tenemos a Agustín Ortiz Frágola, que intentaba ahí el hombre de saco blanco. Un excelente Agustín. Former President of the CFA Society of Argentina. The floor is yours.
No tenía pensado pasar a hablar,
Dale.
pero bueno, aprovecho en realidad para felicitar a todos los participantes, porque la verdad que es un desafío enorme venir, pararse acá enfrente de estos desafiantes jueces que tuvimos el día de hoy, a quienes también les agradezco. Hacer un research súper profesional en un idioma que no es el que hablamos todos los días y sobre todo en el momento en que uno tiene que tomar la decisión, que está en la universidad, y tomar la decisión de participar y dedicarle un montón de tiempo a esto, me parece que habla mucho de ustedes, habla mucho de su carácter y lo hemos dicho en otras oportunidades, pero el Research Challenge es semillero de grandes profesionales y hay muchas historias de éxito en donde equipos ganadores y equipos no ganadores han sido fuente de grandes carreras profesionales que con posterioridad sirvieron para las empresas target, así que puedes seleccionar, pero también para las empresas donde trabajan los jueces, los integrantes de la society y el mercado en general, porque esto se transmite. Así que no tomen esto a la ligera, realmente es un punto muy, muy relevante en el CV de cada uno. Muéstrenlo y siéntanse orgulloso de eso, salga como salga la competencia de hoy. Y a los que resulten ganadores, es un súper desafío poder competir regionalmente y ojalá continuar en la carrera hacia la final, hacia la gran final mundial. Y los invito a todos después a, por supuesto, investigar el programa, entender un poquitito más qué herramientas técnicas nos da y a qué comunidad uno puede ingresar cuando se convierte en CFA Charter Holder, porque la verdad que es un valor enorme. Yo muy contento de estar acá y de presenciar esto. No tengo ninguna función específica en el Research Challenge, pero sí vine a verlos porque me interesa muchísimo ver qué es lo que viene en los profesionales de finanzas del futuro. Y lo he dicho muchas veces en redes, no se me ocurre una competencia tan linda y tan buena para el futuro de un mercado como el Research Challenge. Realmente lo digo. Se habla muchísimo de lo que se necesita en Argentina, educación financiera, desde más temprana edad. Se habla más de lo que se hace y creo que el Research Challenge es una competencia ejemplar en ese sentido y que ayuda a profesionalizar el mercado y a que la gente que viene tenga las mejores prácticas y los mejores estándares, que es un poquitito lo que queremos buscar con todo esto. Así que felicitaciones a todos ustedes y gracias a los jueces, los graders, a Lío, a Sergio, a Lu, a todos los que intervinieron en esto y por supuesto a la compañía Target Vista.
Muy bien, qué timing. Impresionante. ¿Estamos, Sergio? Vamos.
Yo suelo
arrancamos de abajo para arriba. Bueno, entonces tenemos Sí, sí, tengo micrófono. Bueno, vamos... bueno, les pido por supuesto un fuerte aplauso para todos, ahora a medida que vayamos hablando. Esto es una competencia que realmente, nada, vi que, o sea, sinceramente es impresionante la calidad gráfica de algunas presentaciones. Realmente han hecho un trabajo de evaluación, yo que vi, todos vimos todas. Realmente fue bastante diverso la forma en cómo atacaron los temas, con focos bastante concretos, con lo cual realmente, sinceramente, es una experiencia interesante. Bueno, les pido un fuerte aplauso entonces para el equipo que salió cuarto, el equipo de Fusion Consulting, de la Universidad de Rosario. ¿Hacemos foto? Vengan. Agus, ¿dónde está Agustín? Vení, y vení, Sergio. Así hacemos foto con los chicos. Fantástico. ¿Quieren decir, perdón chicos, sí, es importante eso? ¿Alguna palabra de alguien que quiera hacer un comentario? No se retiren, no hagan mutis por el foro, digamos. Vamos, ¿algo?
No, bueno.
¿Cómo se sintieron? ¿Qué tal la pasaron? En inglés, muy bien.
Fue
Por
una
eso.
experiencia increíble. Nosotros somos estudiantes de maestría y también nos agarró que las últimas semanas antes de entrar al trabajo estábamos en un intercambio en Nueva York con visitas a empresas, instituciones, entre ellas el CFA Institute. Fue una experiencia intensa, pero muy, muy linda. Fue un gran trabajo en equipo y bueno, nada, agradecer al CFA por la posibilidad, a Vista por, nada, presentarse y responder todas las preguntas, que te hicimos un montón de preguntas, Flor. Así que bueno, nada, muchísimas gracias.
Bueno, gracias de vuelta. Bueno, de vuelta, seguimos con los aplausos. Tercer puesto, Universidad del SEMA, adelante. Primero hacemos la foto y después vamos con la foto y después habrá alguno que nos inspire. Bueno, muy bien, adelante. Quiero que agreguen, más allá de cómo se sintieron, qué fue lo más difícil para evaluar Vista. Yo no se lo pregunté a los otros chicos, pero dale. En inglés, ¿eh? No, respondan, quiero que respondan cómo se sintieron en la competencia, si les gustó o no, pero quiero saber qué fue lo más difícil, además, después. Pero no
sí,
solo eso.
la competencia creo que a todos nos encantó, específicamente, bueno, a todos, y a mí me pareció buenísimo el grupo humano que se armó, el tutor, todo, la verdad que rescato muchísimo eso, conocer gente que esté en los mismos intereses que nosotros, y el aprendizaje que tuvimos fue increíble. Y lo más difícil de evaluar Vista, bueno, creo que en este momento hay mucha incertidumbre respecto al precio del petróleo. Vos, dependiendo de dónde te movés, hay distintas opiniones y bueno, creo que quisimos hacer foco ahí y fue algo que fue difícil, pero espero que les haya gustado lo que hicimos en cuanto a eso. Muchas gracias.
Muy bien. Bueno, finalmente entonces, para ir cerrando, bueno, es casi como decir, bueno, ahora vamos al ganador, ¿no es cierto? El ganador. Ahora entonces un fuerte aplauso para el equipo ganador, el equipo de la Universidad de Itela Hay Futuro. Ahora sí, hacemos la foto y después tenemos chicos, para ustedes, esperen un segundo. Y acá, este es de la bueno, tenemos de la universidad, bueno, ahora después se lo llevan los todos. Hay también para el mentor, no sé si está el mentor de Itela. No. Bueno, no importa, vamos a ver la foto del otro lado. Ahí estamos. Fantástico. Bueno, ahora sí, entonces chicos. Bueno, ustedes podrían hablar los tres, ¿no? Vamos, adelante.
Muy agradecido con todo, la verdad que fue una experiencia increíble, que creo que ninguno nos imaginamos que era tan intenso como lo fue, pero la verdad que dio sus frutos. Yo estoy muy contento con esto. Es un desafío doble ser 3 personas, es más trabajo, pero bueno, claramente no es una cuestión de personas, sino de esfuerzo, de conectarnos entre nosotros. Ninguno de nosotros hacía finanzas antes de este año, nos metimos los 3 en este mundo, nos maravilló y con esto aún más. Así que bueno, agradezco eso y bueno, vamos por más.
Bueno, nada, sí, creo que esto es un broche de oro, ¿no? Para todo el trabajo que venimos haciendo. Creo que los 3 estamos de acuerdo, la curva de aprendizaje fue no empinada, empinadísima. Fue un desafío muy grande, pero muy hermoso a la vez. Y también estuvo muy bueno el desafío de evaluar una empresa en oil and gas, un sector tan candente hoy en la Argentina, y en el trayecto haber aprendido muchísimo de eso.
La verdad, quiero agradecer a la universidad por darnos la oportunidad, a nuestro tutor, Gustavo Viramonte, y al Faculty Advisor, Julio Fermo, por todo el apoyo que nos proveyeron. Y muy agradecido por la competencia en sí y por la calidad de profesionales que nos encontramos. La verdad fue muy gratificante encontrar un grupo con ese nivel de especialización y hablar el mismo idioma y nada, compartir los mismos intereses. La verdad que hablo por los 3 cuando decimos que muchas gracias por la organización y la competencia en sí.
Muy bien. ¿Qué fue lo más difícil? ¿Qué fue lo más difícil que se encontraron en la evaluación?
Y en la evaluación,
Toma.
hablo por los 3, creo que lo que más nos costó fue el management guidance. Que tanto tomarlo, que tanto no. Es un management que no viene fallando, que viene siendo cauto, pero algunas veces son arriesgados y cumplen. Pero el momento de evaluarlo, la pregunta de ¿qué tanto? ¿No? ¿Qué tanto va a ser así? ¿Cuánto va a ser así? Creo que es lo que más dudas nos generó, pero lo pudimos sortear, creo.
Bueno, perfecto, ahora sí, muy bien. Muchas gracias, chicos. Llévense, por favor, estos 2, a Julio, no sé a quién para el mentor y la universidad, ¿ok? Bueno, perfecto. Bueno, quedó entonces en segundo lugar el equipo Alpha Seekers. Perfecto, adelante. Vamos con la foto. Bárbaro. Bueno,
gracias,
chicos.
Bueno, hola. Gracias a todos. La verdad que fue una experiencia gratificante. La verdad que encontramos un grupo con una calidad humana excepcional. Y la verdad que haber salido segundos no es una decepción en absoluto, porque nos llevamos un aprendizaje excelente, fue una experiencia increíble y vamos por más en el futuro.
¿Qué es lo que más les costó? ¿Qué es lo que más les costó? Lo más difícil que se encontraron.
Al momento de evaluar Vista, creo que la naturaleza de su negocio hace que salga de lo que es un modelo evaluativo tradicional, convencional. Entonces, sí, la aplicación de nuevos modelos para evaluar esta empresa fue bastante más difícil que lo convencional. Es única en su especie de Vista.
Nadie dijo riesgo país, ¿no? Era interesante. Pero bueno, chicos, ahora sí. Bueno, con eso estamos. Ha sido todo por hoy. Bueno, de vuelta, gracias. Felicitaciones para los ganadores. Bueno, nos estamos viendo el año que viene. Adiós. Hasta luego.